After 10 years away in Dubai, I returned unannounced to find my daughter, Emma, on her hands and knees, scrubbing marble floors, while her mother-in-law sneered, "This worthless girl is only fit for cleaning." What I did next left everyone stunned. Have you ever discovered a painful truth about someone you love? Drop a comment below and let me know where you're reading this from. My name is Margaret Foster. I'm 58 years old, and what happened that autumn afternoon changed everything. For a decade, I'd been in Dubai building my textile import business. 10 years of sending money home every month. 10 years believing my Emma was living the life I'd always dreamed for her. A loving marriage, a beautiful home in Knightsbridge, financial security. 10 years of not knowing the truth. I decided to surprise her. No warning calls, no advance notice. I wanted to see the joy on her face when I walked through the door. My suitcase was packed with gifts, French perfumes, Italian scarves, Swiss chocolates. In my mind, I'd rehearsed the reunion 1,000 times. "Mom," she would cry, throwing her arms around me. We'd sit in her elegant kitchen with that expensive espresso machine I'd sent her, catching up on lost time. But when I arrived at that imposing 3-story townhouse with its pristine garden and marble fountain, something felt wrong. The air was heavy with a silence that spoke of secrets. I rang the bell. No answer. The door stood slightly ajar. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The quiet was oppressive, broken only by the sound of water running somewhere deep in the house. I followed it through gleaming hallways until I reached the kitchen. And there she was, my Emma, my daughter, on her knees, hands raw and trembling, scrubbing the floor with a dirty cloth. She wore a faded dress I'd given her years ago, torn at the shoulder, stained beyond recognition. "Emma," I whispered. She lifted her head slowly. Her eyes, God, her eyes were hollow, as if everything inside her had died long ago. Before I could embrace her, I heard the sharp click of heels on marble. A woman appeared, tall, immaculately dressed in cream, with perfectly coiffed hair and blood-red nails. She looked me up and down like I was something unpleasant she'd stepped in. Then she turned to Emma and her voice cut through the air. "This worthless girl is only fit for cleaning. Are you finished with the floor, or must I show you again how it's done properly?" My daughter lowered her head and said nothing. I felt the world tilt beneath my feet. This woman was Victoria Hayes, my daughter's mother-in-law, the mother of James, Emma's husband, the owner of this house, or so she thought. In that moment, I didn't speak. I simply held that woman's gaze, and something inside me, something that had been dormant for 10 years, roared to life, because I hadn't returned just to visit. I'd returned to find out why Emma's calls had become shorter, why her messages had grown distant. When I asked if she was happy, she always answered, "Yes, Mom, everything's perfect." Now I knew, and what I discovered in the weeks that followed would shake this entire family to its core. Sometimes we trust the wrong people with those we love most. Have you been disappointed by someone you trusted? Share your story in the comments. To understand what happened that day, I need to take you back to when Emma was just a little girl with bright eyes and bigger dreams. We lived in a modest flat in Manchester. 2 bedrooms, a small balcony where Jasmine climbed the railings. Every morning, I'd brew tea in my grandmother's old pot, and the scent would fill our home. Emma would come downstairs in her teddy bear pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Morning, Mummy," she'd say, in that sweet voice that made everything worthwhile. I'd serve her warm scones with jam from the corner bakery. We'd sit together while morning light streamed through the windows, making her auburn hair glow like copper. Her father left when she was 2. No goodbye, no explanation, no support. So it was just us, always. I worked at a fabric shop in the city center. The wages were modest, but enough. Emma attended the local comprehensive school. Her teachers would tell me, "Mrs. Foster, your daughter has real talent. She could go far. and I believed them. Sundays, we'd visit Heaton Park. She'd run through the trees while I chased her, both of us laughing until we couldn't breathe. We'd buy hot dogs from a street vendor and sit on a bench while she told me her dreams. "Mommy, when I grow up, I'm going to have a big house with a garden, and you'll live with me and you'll never have to work again." I'd stroke her hair. "I don't need a big house, darling. Having you is having everything." But she insisted, "No, Mommy, you'll see. One day I'll give you everything you deserve." My girl, my Emma, so full of hope. When she turned 18, she started studying graphic design at university. I secured a partial scholarship for her and worked double shifts to cover the rest. Every sacrifice was worth it when I saw her leave each morning with her portfolio, smiling, full of dreams. In her second year, she met James. The first time she mentioned him, something changed in her voice. "Mom, I've met someone." "Oh, what's he like?" He's gorgeous. He's studying business. His family owns an import company. They're quite well off, Mum." Something in her tone troubled me. Not happiness, awe, as if she couldn't believe someone like that would notice her. "And does he treat you well?" I asked. "Yes, Mum. He treats me like a princess." I should have asked more questions. I should have paid closer attention, but I was exhausted from work, and seeing her happy seemed enough. Months later, she brought him home. James arrived in a Mercedes. He wore a crisp white shirt, an expensive watch, cologne that smelled of money. He greeted me politely, kissed my hand, called me Mrs. Foster with respect, but something in his eyes unsettled me. The way he looked around our modest flat, calculating, measuring, determining our worth. "Your daughter is exceptional," he told me. "You must be proud. She is my treasure," I replied. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That night, after he left, I asked Emma, "Are you certain about him?" "Why would you ask that, Mom?" "I don't know, darling. I just want you to be happy." "I am happy, Mom. He loves me, and his family, they've been so welcoming." A lie, but I didn't know it yet. A year later, they married. The wedding took place in an elegant venue in Belgravia. James's family paid for everything. All I could give Emma was a set of hand-embroidered linens I'd made myself. It took me 3 months to complete them. When I gave them to her, she wept. "Mom, this is the most beautiful gift I've ever received." She stored them in a special box, promising to cherish them forever. After the wedding, everything changed quickly. Emma moved into the Hayes family townhouse, a magnificent property in Knightsbridge. I visited once. They received me with cold courtesy. Victoria, the mother-in-law, looked me over as if appraising second-hand goods. She said, "So, you're Emma's mother. How lovely that you could come. Emma is inside. You may go through." She offered no tea, no seat, made me feel like an intruder. And Emma, my Emma, was quiet. She smiled, but it was strained, as if she feared saying the wrong thing. When we had a moment alone, I asked, "Are you all right, sweetheart?" "Yes, Mom. Everything's fine. I'm just adjusting. It's different here." "Different how?" "Nothing, Mom. Don't worry." I should have insisted. But a week later, I received a job offer in Dubai. A friend had relocated there years earlier and found me a position with a textile import firm. The salary was 4 times what I earned in Manchester. I could send money to Emma, help secure her future. I asked Emma if I should go. "Mom, go. It's an incredible opportunity. I'm fine. James takes care of me." And I believed her because she was my daughter, because I loved her, because I wanted to believe her life was better than mine had been. I went to Dubai, and for 10 years, I lived with the illusion that Emma was living her dream. Until that day. Until I saw her on her knees, scrubbing floors with raw hands and empty eyes. Until I heard that woman scream, "This worthless girl is only fit for cleaning." And I understood. My daughter hadn't been living a dream. She'd been living a nightmare. And I hadn't been there to protect her. As I tell this story, I wonder where you're listening from. Write your city in the comments. I'd love to know who's reading. That afternoon, after witnessing Emma on her knees and hearing Victoria's cruel words, I didn't react immediately. Not yet. I needed to understand the full picture first. Victoria stared at me with thinly veiled contempt. "And who might you be?" she asked, though something in her expression suggested she already knew. "I'm Margaret Foster, Emma's mother." Her face shifted for just a moment, a flicker of discomfort, but she quickly masked it. "Ah, the woman from Dubai. Emma didn't mention you were visiting. It's a surprise. I wanted to see my daughter." Emma remained on her knees, head bowed, not daring to look at me. Her hands trembled as she clutched the filthy cloth. "Emma, stand up," I said gently. She hesitated, glancing at Victoria as if seeking permission. That look broke my heart. "Emma," I repeated, firmer this time. "Stand up, darling." Slowly, she rose. Her knees were red and raw. The faded dress hung loosely on her frame. She'd lost significant weight. When she finally met my eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before. Shame. "Mum, I didn't know you were coming." "I can see that." I turned to Victoria. "May I speak with my daughter alone?" Victoria smiled, but it wasn't kind. It was the smile of someone who knows they have power and enjoys using it. "Of course. This is her home too. Well, technically it's my home, but Emma lives here. You can talk in the drawing room. I have matters to attend to." She walked away, heels clicking on marble, leaving a trail of expensive perfume and arrogance. I approached Emma and took her hands. They were rough, covered in calluses, hands that had worked far too much. "What's happening here?" I asked quietly. "Nothing, Mum. Everything's fine. Don't lie to me, Emma." "I saw you on your knees. I heard what she said." She looked away. "Victoria is very particular about cleanliness. She likes everything perfect. And I live in her house. It's the least I can do." "The least you can do?" "Where's James? Why isn't he defending you?" "He is at the office, Mum. He works constantly. The family business is large. He has many responsibilities." Her voice sounded rehearsed, as if she'd repeated these words many times, trying to convince herself. "And you? Don't you work anymore?" She bit her lip. "Victoria believes a good wife takes care of the home, that my job is supporting James and maintaining everything in order. But you studied graphic design. You're so talented. You don't design anymore." "I haven't had time, Mum." A lie. I knew it instantly. But I didn't press her. Not yet. "Where are the linens I made you? The ones I embroidered for your wedding?" Her face fell. They're stored away. May I see them?" "Mum, it's just, I want to see them, Emma." She led me upstairs. We climbed a marble staircase with gold banisters. The house was enormous, ostentatious, but something felt hollow, a beautiful shell without soul. When we reached her bedroom, I was surprised by how small it was compared to the rest of the house. Barely room for a double bed and a modest wardrobe. No decorations, no photographs of her and James together, nothing personal. It resembled a servant's quarters. "The linens are here," she said, opening the wardrobe. She pulled out the box carefully. It was crumpled with moisture stains. When she opened it, what I saw shattered something inside me. The linens I'd embroidered with such love, every stitch made with thoughts of her happiness, were torn, ripped in several places, and filthy. "What happened?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Victoria said they were too cheap for this house, that they didn't match the decor. I used them for a while, but James spilled wine on them one evening, and Victoria said they were ruined, that I should dispose of them." "Then why didn't you?" "Because they were yours, Mom. Because you made them with your hands. I couldn't throw them away." Her voice cracked. For the first time since I'd arrived, I saw her cry. I embraced her, feeling her small, fragile body trembling in my arms, and I knew something terrible had been happening during these 10 years. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you call?" "Because you were in Dubai, working so hard. Because I didn't want to worry you." "But why, Emma?" "Because I thought I could manage. I thought if I tried harder, if I did everything perfectly, she would accept me. He would love me like before." Like before. She pulled away, wiping tears with the back of her hand. "In the beginning, when we married, James was different. He was affectionate,
attentive. He brought flowers. He told me I was beautiful. But gradually he changed. He started coming home late, stopped talking to me, treated me like I was invisible. And Victoria began giving orders, criticizing me, telling me I wasn't good enough for her son, that I came from a poor family, that I should be grateful they'd accepted me. Every word was a knife in my chest. And James? Does he defend you? He says I should be more patient with his mother, that she's just like that she means no harm, that I'm too sensitive. But you heard her, Emma. I heard her myself. She called you worthless. She was angry because I hadn't finished cleaning on time. Important guests were coming. She needed everything perfect. She was justifying it, defending the very woman who was humiliating her. And that frightened me more than anything. Emma, listen carefully. This isn't right. What's happening here isn't normal. It's not love. You don't understand, Mom. They're different. They're from another world. They have different customs. I have to adapt. Adapt? Does that include being treated like a servant? I'm not their servant. I'm James's wife. Then where is your husband? Why isn't he here with you now? Why isn't he protecting you? She had no answer, because there was no answer. We heard footsteps in the hallway. Emma immediately tensed. It's Victoria. Please, Mom, don't cause trouble. I don't want problems. Problems, Emma? They're already problems. Please. She looked at me with those pleading eyes. And though everything in me wanted to go downstairs and confront that woman, though I wanted to shout what I truly thought, I held back. Because I needed time. I needed to understand the full situation. I needed a plan. Because I hadn't returned from Dubai just to watch my daughter suffer. I'd returned to save her. And that was exactly what I was going to do. The door opened. Victoria appeared with a false smile. Everything all right here? James just arrived. He's downstairs. He'd like to greet his mother-in-law. Mother-in-law. She said it as if the word burned her tongue. Let's go, I said to Emma, taking her hand. We'll go down together. When I saw James in the drawing room, dressed in his expensive suit with his gold watch and perfect empty smile, I knew exactly what kind of man he was. The kind who allows his mother to destroy his wife. The kind who chooses comfort over love. The kind I was going to take everything from. But nobody knew that yet. Not even I knew how far I was capable of going. Have you ever had to bite your tongue when you saw someone you love being mistreated? It's one of the hardest things to do. Share your thoughts in the comments.
James approached with open arms and a smile that looked like it came from a magazine advertisement. Mother-in-law, what a wonderful surprise. Emma didn't tell us you were coming. He gave me a superficial hug, one of those that means nothing. He smelled of expensive cologne and something else I couldn't identify then. Something false. I wanted to surprise everyone, I said, keeping my voice neutral. It's been 10 years. I missed my daughter. And she missed you too, didn't you, darling? He looked at Emma. She nodded quickly, without speaking. Please sit, James said, gesturing to the Italian leather sofa. May I get you something? Water, tea? Emma, bring something for your mother. Emma jumped up immediately, like a spring, rushing to the kitchen without even asking what I wanted. That's not necessary, I said. I don't want to be a bother. It's no bother, James replied, sitting across from me with his legs crossed. This is your home too. While you're in London, you can stay here with us. Victoria, who'd been watching from the doorway, immediately intervened. Well, we'd need to prepare the guest room. It's full of storage boxes at the moment. Perhaps the lady would be more comfortable in a hotel. We could pay, naturally. That won't be necessary, I said firmly. I've already booked a hotel. I just came to see Emma. Victoria smiled with barely concealed relief. James continued talking, filling the silence with empty words about the business, about how well the company was doing, about new contracts they'd secured, about expansion plans. My father's company, God rest his soul, has grown tremendously under my management. We import premium European goods, wines, oils, cheeses, that sort of thing. We have clients nationwide. I nodded as he spoke, but my mind was elsewhere. I was observing the expensive furniture, the paintings on the walls, the crystal chandeliers. Everything screamed wealth. But something didn't add up. The curtains were slightly frayed at the edges. The carpet had old stains someone had tried to hide. The leather sofa was cracked in places. It was like a beautiful facade beginning to crumble. Emma returned with a tray. She brought tea in fine porcelain and butter biscuits on a small plate. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed them on the coffee table. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said, taking the cup. I sat there for an hour listening to James talk endlessly. Victoria interrupted occasionally to boast about their social connections, the fancy dinners they attended, the club they belonged to. Emma didn't speak a single word the entire hour. She sat beside James, hands in her lap, back straight, gaze fixed on the floor, like a statue, like a lifeless doll. When I finally stood to leave, I asked Emma to walk me to the door. "I want us to have lunch tomorrow. Just you and me," I said quietly. "I don't know if I can, Mum. Victoria has an appointment and needs me to—" "Emma, we had an agreement. I haven't seen you in 10 years. One lunch. That's all I'm asking." She glanced back to where James and Victoria were talking. "All right," she finally whispered. "Where?" "At the restaurant near Hyde Park. Remember? We used to go when you were little." Her eyes brightened for a second, a flash of the past. "I remember. 2:00 tomorrow. I'll be there, Mum." She hugged me, and in that embrace, I felt everything she couldn't say aloud. I felt her fear, her loneliness, her pain. That night in my hotel, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, thinking about everything I'd seen. Emma's injured hands, her old clothes, her silence, the way she sought permission with her eyes before doing anything. My daughter had become invisible in her own life, and I hadn't been there to see it. The next morning, I arrived at the restaurant 30 minutes early. I wanted everything ready. I asked for the table by the window, the same one where we used to sit when she was little. I ordered hot tea, the kind she liked, and waited. 2:00 came. Emma didn't appear. 2:15, nothing. 2:30, I sent her a message. No reply. At 2:45, just as I was about to leave, my phone rang. It was Emma. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I can't make it." "What happened?" "Something came up. Victoria needs me to accompany her to a doctor's appointment. Her driver is ill, and—" "Emma, we had plans. I haven't seen you in 10 years. "I know, Mom. I'm so sorry. I promise tomorrow." "Tomorrow? Or will something else come up tomorrow too?" Silence on the other end. "It's not like that, Mum." "Then what is it like? Tell me. Tell me the truth." "You just don't understand how things work here. Victoria, she needs me. James works all day. I'm the only one who can help her." "Help her? Emma, she has money. She can hire anyone." "But I'm her daughter-in-law. It's my responsibility." I felt something break inside me. "And what about your responsibility to yourself? What about your life?" "This is my life." "No, this isn't life. This is—" "I have to go. Victoria is waiting. We'll talk later." She hung up. I sat there in that restaurant with the tea going cold, with memories of when she was a little girl swirling in my head. And I understood something terrible. My daughter had given up on herself. She'd erased herself to please that family, to fit in, to be accepted. And the worst part was she didn't even realize it. She thought this was love. She thought this was marriage. She thought a woman's sacrifice was normal because nobody had taught her otherwise. Because I hadn't been there to teach her. I left the restaurant and walked aimlessly through the streets of Knightsbridge. I passed the park where we used to go. I saw a mother with her young daughter running through the trees, laughing, free. And I promised myself in that moment, I was going to bring back my daughter. The Emma who dreamed. The Emma who laughed. The Emma who had light in her eyes. No matter what I had to do, no matter how long it took, no matter who I had to fight. But first, I needed information. I needed to know exactly what was happening with that family, because something told me there was more, much more, than what was visible on the surface. And I was going to find out. That same afternoon, I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. Someone in Dubai had recommended him, a business contact who'd used his services before. I explained the situation. I gave them the names James Hayes, Victoria Hayes, the family business. I need to know everything, I told him. Their financial situation, their business dealings, their debts, everything. Are you certain, Mrs. Foster? Sometimes people discover things they'd rather not know. I'm certain. My daughter is in that house, and I need to understand why. Understood. I'll have something for you in a week. A week. 7 days felt like an eternity. During that time, I tried to see Emma 3 more times. All 3 times she canceled. Always with a different excuse, always with that small voice apologizing, promising next time would work, until finally I stopped insisting because I understood I wouldn't achieve anything by pressuring her. She was trapped in an invisible web of guilt, fear, and manipulation. And the only way to free her was to cut that web from the root. On the 7th day, the investigator called. Mrs. Foster, I have the report. Can you come to my office? I'm on my way. An hour later, I sat across from him looking at a thick folder full of documents, photographs, bank statements, and what I saw there changed everything. Absolutely everything. I still wonder if I did the right thing. What would you have done in my place? Let me know in the comments. The investigator's name was Thomas Bennett. He had a small office in Camden on the 2nd floor that smelled of old coffee and paper. He was a man in his 50s with thick glasses and ink-stained hands. He opened the folder in front of me. Mrs. Foster, this is more complicated than I initially thought. What did you find? He pulled out a photograph, the facade of a commercial building in Mayfair. This is the headquarters of Hayes Imports, or what's left of it. What's left? The business has been technically insolvent for 3 years. They have debts to European suppliers totaling over £1.8 million. I felt the air leave my lungs. £1.8 million? And that's just the suppliers. They also owe the bank. They mortgaged the company 4 years ago to cover losses. They couldn't pay. The bank is in foreclosure proceedings. He placed another document before me, a notice of judicial auction. What about the house? I asked. The house where Emma lives. Thomas pulled out more papers. The house is also twice mortgaged. The first mortgage was 6 years ago, the second 2 years ago. They owe approximately £650,000. The bank has already initiated eviction proceedings. They have 6 months, maybe less. I stared at the documents, unable to process what I was seeing. But they live like wealthy people. The furniture, the clothes, the cars. A facade, Thomas said, removing his glasses to clean them. It's all appearances. James's car is leased, and he's 3 months behind on payments. The family credit cards are maxed out. Victoria owes money even at the beauty salon. How is this possible? How did they reach this point? James inherited the company from his father 10 years ago. Apparently, Mr. Hayes was an excellent administrator. He had contacts, reputation, experience. When he died, James tried to continue the business, but he lacked both his father's talent and discipline. He started making bad deals, trusting the wrong people, spending more than he earned. And Victoria comes from a family that had money decades ago, but they have nothing left. She lives on appearances. She keeps attending her clubs, her dinners, pretending everything is fine. But the truth is, they're drowning in debt. I looked at the photographs again. The house, the company, everything was a lie. "There's something else," Thomas said in a softer voice. "Something about your daughter." "What about Emma?" He pulled out a bank receipt. For the past 5 years, Emma has been transferring money from her personal account to the company account. Small amounts at first, £400, £800, but in the last year, the transfers increased. Last month, she transferred £2,500. Where did she get that money? "The transfers you were sending her from Dubai." The world stopped. "What?" "Every month, you sent her money for her well-being, I assume. But she was transferring it directly to the company to cover expenses, to pay debts, to maintain the illusion that everything was fine." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "She never used that money for herself?" "No, ma'am. She used it to save her husband's family." Oh my God. "There's more." "More?" Thomas placed a series of printed photographs before me. Photos of James at restaurants, at bars, with a young woman who wasn't Emma. James has been having an affair for 2 years. This woman's name is Sophie. She's 25. She works in marketing. He pays for an apartment for her in Chelsea. The flat is in her name, but he covers the rent, £1,700 per month. Every word was a hammer blow. Does Emma know? I don't know, but it's possible. How can he pay for an apartment if he's bankrupt with maxed out credit cards? Probably with the money Emma transfers. It's a vicious cycle. She gives him money to save the company. He uses it to keep his mistress. I closed my eyes. I felt nauseous. My daughter, my girl, working as a servant in that house, giving every penny I sent her, sacrificing herself for a man who was betraying her, for a family that despised her, and everything was a lie. The wealth, the success, the thriving company, the respectable family, all a sham. "There's something else you need to know," Thomas asked. "I want the names of all the creditors. I want to know exactly how much they owe and to whom. I want to know when each deadline is. I want everything." "May I ask why?" I looked him directly in the eye. "Because I'm going to buy those debts, all of them." Thomas stared at me surprised. "Are you certain? That's over £2.5 million in total." "I have the money. I've been working in Dubai for 10 years, saving every penny, investing. I have enough. But Mrs. Foster, if you buy the debts, if I buy the debts, I become the creditor, and I can decide what to do with those properties." "Yes, but..." "No buts. Do it. Contact all the creditors, tell them there's a buyer willing to pay in cash, and I want everything done quietly. Nobody can know who is behind this. Nobody." Thomas nodded slowly. "You'll need solicitors. This is complex. Get me the best ones. I don't care about the cost." "Understood. How long do I have?" 3 weeks. "Man, 3 weeks is 3 weeks, Thomas. My daughter has been suffering in that house for 10 years. I can't leave her there a day longer than necessary." He stood and extended my hand. "I'll do what I can." I left that office with the folder under my arm, walking through Camden streets, feeling a mix of rage and determination I'd never felt before. James Hayes, Victoria Hayes. They'd taken my daughter. They'd used her kindness, her innocence, her need to be accepted. They turned her into their lifeline while they sank into their own incompetence and lies. And my daughter, my poor Emma, had been giving everything, her money, her time, her dignity, her soul. Because that's what good women do, right? They sacrifice, they stay silent, they endure, they smile while bleeding inside, but no more. That night in my hotel, I did the calculations. I checked my savings, my investments, everything I'd built in 10 years. I had enough, just enough, to buy all the Hayes family debts. I'd be left without savings, without a financial cushion, without security. But that didn't matter, because my daughter was more important than any amount of money. Sometimes love requires sacrifice, but this time the sacrifice would be mine, not hers. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice for someone you love? Share in the comments. The next day, I tried to see Emma again. This time I went straight to the house without warning. I rang the bell. A housekeeper opened. An older woman in a gray uniform. "Good morning. I'm looking for Emma." "Mrs. Hayes went out with Mrs. Victoria. They've gone to the club." "What time will they return?" "I couldn't say." "And Mr. James?" "He's in his study. Shall I inform him?" "That's not necessary. I'll return later." But I didn't leave. I stood outside looking at that enormous house with its perfect facade, its immaculate windows, its manicured garden. Everything was a lie. And very soon, that entire lie was going to collapse. I spent the following weeks meeting with solicitors, signing documents, transferring money. Thomas worked quickly and discreetly. First, he contacted the bank. I offered to pay the full debt plus an additional 15% in exchange for them transferring the mortgage to my name immediately. They accepted. Then we approached the European suppliers. Many had already written off the money as lost. When I offered to pay 65% of what they were owed in cash, they signed without hesitation. In 2 weeks, I had the deeds to the house and the company in my hands. Everything legal, everything documented, everything in my name. Margaret Foster, the woman who came from Manchester, who worked in a fabric shop, who cleaned floors so her daughter could study, now owned everything the Hayes family boasted about. But I still didn't tell them anything. It wasn't the time yet. First, I needed Emma to know the truth. And that was the hardest part, because the truth wouldn't just destroy the illusion of her marriage, it would destroy everything she'd believed for 10 years. The night before confronting them, I called Emma's number. No answer. I left a message. "Sweetheart, I need to see you. It's urgent. Please call me." An hour later, my phone rang. "Mom?" "Emma. Thank you for calling. I need us to meet tomorrow. It's just that tomorrow Victoria has..." "Emma? Please, it's important. More important than anything Victoria needs." There was a long silence. "Is everything all right, Mom?" "No, everything is not all right, but it will be. I promise. Can you come to the hotel tomorrow at 10 in the morning?" All right. I'll be there." "Thank you, sweetheart. I love you." "I love you too, Mom." I hung up and looked out the hotel window at the city lights. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, justice would begin. The morning arrived with gray skies threatening rain. I woke at 6, though I hadn't really slept. I'd spent the entire night rehearsing the words, preparing myself for what I had to tell Emma. I didn't know how she'd react, whether she'd believe me, whether she'd be angry at me for investigating her life, whether she'd side with James and Victoria. But I had to try. I went down to the hotel restaurant and ordered coffee. I couldn't eat anything. My stomach was churning. I checked my bag repeatedly, ensuring I had all the documents Thomas had given me, the bank statements, the photographs, the legal papers, the truth printed in black ink on white paper. At 10 minutes to 10, I returned to my room. I'd requested fresh coffee and pastries, the butter scones Emma loved when she was little. I wanted this to be as painless as possible. At exactly 10 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. I opened it. It was Emma. She looked exhausted, deep, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. She wore a turtleneck despite the warmth and loose trousers that hid her figure. "Hello, Mom," she said with a small voice. "Sweetheart, come in.
Thank you for coming." She entered slowly, looking around as if she'd never been in a hotel before. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands in her lap with that rigid posture she'd adopted. "Would you like coffee? I brought scones." Her eyes lit up for a second. "I haven't had scones in years." "Why not?" "Victoria says they have too many calories, that I should watch my figure. James says so too." I felt anger rise in my throat, but I swallowed it. "Well, today you can eat as many as you want." I poured her coffee and placed the scones on a plate before her. She took one carefully, as if it were something forbidden. She took a small bite and closed her eyes. "It tastes just like before," she whispered. "Some things never change." We ate in silence for a few minutes. I watched her, every movement, every gesture, searching for my daughter beneath that shell of submission. "Mom, why did you want to see me? You said it was urgent." I took a deep breath. "Emma, I need you to listen to me. Everything I'm going to tell you is the truth. I have proof, but I need you to promise you'll listen until the end before reacting." Her face went pale. "You're frightening me." "I don't want to frighten you. I want to save you." "Save me from what?" "From them. From James. From Victoria. From everything." She stood up immediately. "No, I'm not going to listen to this. I knew you were going to criticize my marriage." "Emma, please sit down." "I don't want to hear bad things about my husband. They're not true. You don't know him. You don't live with us. You were in Dubai for 10 years while I—" She stopped, covering her mouth with her hand. "While you what?" I asked gently. "Say it." "While I suffered alone." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm not suffering." "No? Then tell me why your hands are covered in calluses, why you're wearing old clothes, why I saw you on your knees scrubbing floors, why you stopped designing, why you stopped dreaming." "Because I'm a wife, because that's what wives do." "No, Emma, that's not what wives do. That's what servants do." She looked at me with fury. "How dare you?" "I dare because I'm your mother, because I love you, because I won't stand by while you destroy yourself for people who don't deserve you." "James loves me." "James is cheating on you." The silence that followed was deafening. Emma froze, mouth open, eyes wide. "What did you say?" "James has a mistress. Her name is Sophie. She's 25. He's paying for an apartment for her in Chelsea." "Lies. I have photographs." "I don't want to see them." "Emma." "No!" she screamed. It was the first time in years I'd heard her raise her voice. "I'm not going to listen to this. You're making things up to separate me from him." "Why would I do that?" "Because you never liked him. From the beginning, you always thought he wasn't good enough for me. I thought you were too good for him. And I was right, because you're worth 1,000 times more than he'll ever understand." She collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. I waited, letting the tears come, years of pain, humiliation, silence, all pouring out at once. When she finally calmed, I sat beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "There's more," I said softly, "and you need to know." "I don't want to know anymore. The company is bankrupt. The house is mortgaged. They have over £2.5 million in debt. They're going to lose everything in less than 6 months." She slowly lifted her head. "How do you know this?" "I hired an investigator. He gave me all the details. I have the documents right here." I reached for the folder and placed it before her. She opened it with trembling hands, beginning to read the bank statements, the foreclosure notices, the lawsuits. "This can't be. This can't be true." "It is, sweetheart. It's all true. But James always says the business is thriving, that we're expanding, that—" "He lied to you. All these years, he lied." She reached the photographs of James with Sophie. She stared at them for a long time. In one, they were kissing outside a restaurant. In another, he was placing a necklace on her. In another, they were entering an apartment building together. Do you recognize this building? It's 6 blocks from your house. A tear fell onto the photograph. How long? She asked, her voice breaking. 2 years. And me? I gave him everything. All the money you sent, I transferred it to the company to help them, to save them. I know. It's in the documents. All the transfers, every penny I sent went directly to that phantom company, and he used it to keep his mistress. She doubled over as if punched in the stomach. I'm an idiot. No, you're not an idiot. You're a woman who loved someone who didn't deserve it.
Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely? The pain is unbearable. Share your experience in the comments if you feel comfortable. I sacrificed everything, Emma continued, her voice hollow. My career, my dignity, my life. And for what? For him to betray me. For his mother to treat me like rubbish. To live in a house that isn't even theirs. No more, I said firmly. No more, Emma. She looked at me with those red, swollen eyes. What can I do? I have no money, no job, nothing. You have your mother, and that's more than they have. I don't understand. I pulled another envelope from my bag. Inside were the property deeds, the house, the company, everything. I bought their debts, all of them. The house is in my name now, the company too. Everything is mine. Emma stared at me, not comprehending. What? I spent all my savings, every penny I earned in Dubai, but I did it. I bought everything they think is theirs. But that means, it means I can do whatever I want with those properties. And what I want is to give them to you. To me? You're my daughter. Everything I have is yours. It always has been. She stared at the documents, unable to process what she was seeing. Why? Why did you do this? Because you're my daughter. Because I love you. Because I won't let that family continue to destroy you. But you lost all your money. Money can be recovered. You cannot. If I'd lost you, if you'd stayed in that house another year, 2 years, I don't know if there would have been anything left of you to save. She hugged me tight, like when she was little and had nightmares and I was the only one who could chase them away. Thank you, Mum. Thank you. I held her while she cried. Years of stored tears, years of swallowed humiliation, years of broken silence. When she finally pulled away, her face was soaked, but her eyes were different. There was something there I hadn't seen in days, something I'd thought had disappeared forever. There was fury. What are we going to do? She asked. We're going to reclaim your life. How? Tomorrow we're going to that house together and we're going to tell them the truth. That they have nothing left, that everything is mine now, and that they have to leave. They're going to be furious. Let them be. They can't hurt you anymore. You don't have to fear them. And after? After, you decide if you want to keep the house. It's yours. If you want to sell everything and start over somewhere else, we'll do that. If you want to return to university for design, you can pay for it with the sale of the company. Whatever you want, sweetheart. For the first time in 10 years, you decide. I watched as something transformed in her face, as if after years of being asleep, she was finally waking up. I want them to suffer, she said quietly. I want them to feel what I felt. They will. Life takes care of that. But we're not going to dirty our hands with revenge. We're going to enact justice. And justice is simply telling the truth and letting the consequences fall where they may. When? Tomorrow at 10 in the morning, we go together. What if James begs me not to do it? What if he tells me he loves me? Do you believe him? She thought about it for a long time. No, she finally said. Not anymore. Then it doesn't matter what he says. That night, Emma stayed at my hotel. I didn't want her returning to that house. Not yet. We slept in the same bed like when she was little and afraid of the dark. But this time, I was the one afraid. Afraid she'd change her mind. afraid that love, or what remained of it, would make her go back, afraid of losing her again. But when I woke the next morning, she was already up, standing before the mirror, looking at herself. Do you know what the saddest thing is? I stopped recognizing myself. I haven't known who I am for years. Then it's time for you to remember, or better yet, to discover yourself again. She turned toward me. I'm ready, Mom. Let's end this. And in that moment, I saw a flash of Emma she had been, the girl who dreamed of having a big house so her mother would never have to work again, the young woman who studied design with light in her eyes, the woman she could have been if she hadn't met James. She was still there, buried, but there. And I was going to help her emerge. We arrived at the house at exactly 10 in the morning. Emma wore a dress we'd bought the night before in a shop in Soho. It was navy blue, simple but elegant. She'd worn her hair down for the first time in years. She looked different. She looked like herself. I wore my best suit, the one I used for important meetings in Dubai, and carried the folder with all the documents under my arm. Emma pulled out her keys, but before opening, she looked at me. Are you certain about this, Mom? Completely. And you? Yes. I can't keep living like this. I can't keep being invisible. Then let's go in. She opened the door. The house was silent. We heard voices coming from the dining room. Victoria and James were having breakfast. We walked toward them together, our steps echoing on the marble. When we entered the dining room, they both looked up surprised. James had the newspaper in one hand and a cup of coffee in the other. Victoria was eating sliced fruit with a silver fork. They looked at us as if we'd interrupted something sacred. James? I didn't know you'd gone out. Where did you spend the night? With my mother, Emma replied. At her hotel. Victoria frowned. You should have told us. We were worried. We thought something had happened to you. Really? Emma asked. Were you really worried, or didn't you even notice I was gone? James put down the newspaper. What's wrong with you? Why the tone? Because we need to talk. All of us. Well, all four. My mother is part of this conversation. Victoria looked at me with disdain. What is she doing here? She lives here. Well, technically, I own this house now, so I'm the one who should be asking what you two are doing here. The silence that followed was absolute. James and Victoria froze like statues. What are you talking about? James asked slowly. I'm talking about the fact that I bought all your debts. The mortgage on this house, the mortgage on the company, the debts to suppliers, everything. And when you buy the debts, you become the creditor, which means this house, legally, is mine. I placed the folder on the dining room table, opened it, and laid out the documents one by one before them. Here are the property deeds transferred to my name a week ago. Everything completely legal. You can verify with your solicitors if you'd like, though I suspect you can't afford solicitors right now. James took the papers with trembling hands and began reading. His face went white. This can't be real. It's completely real. Victoria stood up abruptly. How dare you? How dare you come into my house? It's not your house, I interrupted. Not anymore. And it hasn't been for some time. You owed the bank over £650,000. You were going to lose it anyway. I just accelerated the process. Who do you think you are? I'm Emma's mother, the woman you used for 10 years, the woman whose money you used to maintain your facade of wealth while you treated my daughter like trash. Sometimes the truth hurts more than any punishment. Have you ever had to confront someone with a painful truth? Tell me in the comments. We didn't treat her like trash, James shouted. Emma is my wife. She lives in a beautiful house. She has everything she needs. Everything? Emma asked, her voice trembling but not breaking. I have everything? Do I have respect? Do I have love? Do I have dignity? Of course you do. Lies. I have nothing. I'm your servant, your mother's servant. I clean her floors, wash her clothes, cook her meals, and while I do all that, you're with Sophie. James stood so quickly his chair toppled backward. What are you talking about? I know everything, James. I know you have a mistress. I know you pay for an apartment for her. I know you use the money my mother sent me to keep her while I break my hands cleaning your house. Emma, I can explain. I don't want explanations. Not anymore. Victoria intervened with a venomous voice. This is your fault. She pointed at me. You put these ideas in her head. You're manipulating her against her own family. Her family? I laughed without humor. You're not her family. I am. And the only manipulation here is what you've been doing to her for years. We gave her a roof. We gave her stability. You gave her slavery. You turned her into your unpaid worker. And the worst part is, you did it so subtly, she thought this was love. James approached Emma with open arms. Darling, please, this is a misunderstanding. Your mother doesn't understand how things work here. We love you. I love you. Emma backed away. Don't touch me, James. Don't ever touch me again. You're being irrational. Your mother has brainwashed you. My mother opened my eyes. There's a difference. I pulled another envelope from the folder, the photographs of James with Sophie. I placed them on the table one by one. Explain this to her, I said. Explain why you are kissing another woman while your wife was scrubbing your mother's floor. Explain why you were paying for your mistress's apartment with the money she gave you to save the company. James looked at the photographs, all color draining from his face. That's not what it looks like. No? Then what is it? It's complicated. It's not complicated, Emma said. It's betrayal. Plain and simple betrayal. Victoria took the photographs and examined them. For the first time since I'd met her, I saw something close to discomfort on her face. James? What is this? Mother, do you have a mistress? She's not a mistress. She's just someone who understands you better than your wife. Victoria's voice was ice. Do you know the scandal this could cause? What they'd say at the club, in society? And there it was, the truth. Victoria didn't care about Emma's pain. She cared about the scandal, the appearance, what people would say. You no longer have a club. You no longer have society. You have nothing but debts and lies. Victoria looked at me with pure hatred. This is revenge. That's what this is. You came here for revenge because your daughter married above her station. I came here to save my daughter. And yes, as a bonus, to enact justice. But it's not revenge. Revenge would be cruel. I'm simply being fair. Fair. Taking our house is fair. It wasn't your house. It belonged to the bank. You couldn't pay for it. I could. Then sell it. Sell it and keep the money, but let us stay here until we find something else. No. Excuse me? I said no. I want you out today. James took a step toward me, and for the first time I saw something dangerous in his eyes. You can't evict us just like that. There are laws. There are laws, yes. And I followed them all. I have the legal right to ask you to vacate the property, and that's exactly what I'm doing. We need time, at least a month. You have until the end of the day. Pack your belongings and leave. This is inhumane. Inhumane? You want to talk about inhumane? Was it humane to make Emma scrub floors on her knees? Was it humane to call her worthless? Was it humane to betray her while she gave you every penny she had? Nobody answered. You have until 6 o'clock this evening. If you're still here then, I'll call the police and have you removed by force. Victoria collapsed into her chair. Suddenly she looked old. All that haughtiness, that arrogance, had vanished. What remained was a frightened woman who'd just lost everything. Where will we go? She asked in a small voice. That's not my concern. You should have thought about that before spending money you didn't have, before mortgaging everything, before living a lie for years. James approached Emma once more. Darling, please, don't let her do this. We're your family. We're married. Not anymore. What? We're not married anymore. I'm filing for divorce. Emma, no. Please, we can fix this. I can change. I don't want you to change. I don't want anything from you anymore. I just want you out of my life. But I love you. No, you don't love me. You never loved me. You used me just like she used me, just like everyone used me, but no more. She turned to me. Let's go, Mom. Are you certain? Completely. We left the dining room together. Behind us, we heard Victoria crying, James shouting, but we didn't stop. We went upstairs to Emma's room. She began taking her clothes from the wardrobe. There was not much. A few old dresses, worn underwear, a pair of shoes. Is this everything? I asked. The rest belongs to them, or they bought it. I don't want anything that comes from them. She found the box with the embroidered linens, the ones I'd made for her. She took them out carefully. I'm taking these. We'll have them repaired. They'll be like new. No, she said. I want them like this, torn. To remember. To never forget what happened here. She packed everything into a small suitcase. Then she looked around the room. 10 years. 10 years of my life in this place, and I don't have a single thing I want to keep. Not one photograph, not one memory. Nothing. Then let's leave it all behind. Yes, let's leave it all behind. We went downstairs with the suitcase. James was in the drawing room, sitting with his head in his hands. Victoria had disappeared, probably to her room. When he saw us pass, he stood. Emma, please don't leave. We can talk. We can fix this. I've been with you for 10 years. 10 years. That has to mean something. It means I wasted 10 years of my life, but I won't waste another day. You'll regret this. Perhaps, but I'd rather regret leaving than regret staying. We walked out of the house. The sun was shining brightly. The threat of rain had passed. The sky was clear. Emma stopped at the entrance, turning to look at the house one last time. Are you all right? I asked. I don't know. I don't think I feel anything yet. It's like I'm floating. That's normal. It's shock. But it will pass. And then what? Then we live. You decide what to do with this house, with the company, with your life. But you decide. Nobody else. I want to sell everything. I don't want any of this. I just want to start over. Then that's what we'll do. We got into the taxi I'd called. As we drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. James had come to the door. He watched us leave, shoulders slumped, defeat written in every line of his body. But I felt no pity for him. He'd had 10 years to be a good husband, 10 years to defend Emma, 10 years to truly love her, and he'd wasted every single one of those days. Now he would have to live with those consequences, and I finally had my daughter back. Justice isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's simply the truth catching up with those who've lived lies. What's your definition of justice? Share your thoughts below. The following months felt like living in two worlds simultaneously. On one side was the legal realm. Solicitors, paperwork, the divorce proceedings James tried to prolong as much as possible, negotiations to sell the house and company, all that cold, bureaucratic world that forced us to face the Hayes family repeatedly. On the other side was Emma, my daughter, rebuilding herself piece by piece. We rented a small flat in Notting Hill, 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, a balcony overlooking a park. It wasn't luxurious. There was no marble or crystal chandeliers, but it was ours. The first weeks were the hardest. Emma cried at night, not because she missed James, but because she was processing all the damage they'd done, all the lost time, all the versions of herself she'd buried to please others. I feel empty, Mom, she told me one night, like I don't know who I am. I spent so much time being what they wanted that I forgot who I was. Then this is the moment to remember, or better yet, to discover yourself again. We started slowly, with small steps. I bought her sketchbooks and colored pencils, the same ones she'd used when studying design. I don't know if I still can, she said, looking at them with fear. Just try. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. The first days, the sketchbooks remained closed. She looked at them from a distance as if they were something dangerous. But one morning, I found her at the kitchen table drawing. It was a simple sketch. A cup of tea, the jasmine growing on our balcony, her hand moving across paper. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to interrupt. I just poured her tea in silence and let her create. When she finished, she showed me the drawing. "It's terrible," she said. "I've lost all my technique." "It's beautiful," I said, "because it's yours. Because you did it without anyone telling you how." Little by little, she began drawing more each day. And with every stroke, I saw something in her come back to life. Meanwhile, I handled selling the properties. It wasn't easy. The house carried significant value, but also the weight of everything that had happened there. Every room held a painful memory for Emma. A young couple finally bought it, expecting their first child. They were excited, making plans about decorating the nursery, about the garden where the child would play. "It's good," Emma said, when we signed the papers. "It's good that house will have a new story, a happy one." The company was more complicated. It was so debt-ridden that almost nobody wanted to buy it. Finally, an investor made a low offer, very low, but we accepted. It wasn't about making money, it was about closing that chapter. With the proceeds from the sales, after paying all remaining debts, a considerable sum remained. I gave it all to Emma. "I can't accept this, Mom. You lost all your savings to buy those properties. And I'd do it 1,000 times over. This money is yours. It's the start of your new life. Use it well. What will I do with so much money? Whatever you want. For the first time in your life, the decision is yours alone." She enrolled in a digital graphic design course. Things had changed significantly since she'd studied. Everything was computers now, programs she didn't know. But she learned quickly, as if her brain had been asleep and was finally waking up. She started taking yoga classes, saying she needed to reconnect with her body after years of treating it like a machine only good for work. She cut her hair, a dramatic change from waist length to a modern shoulder length style. When she emerged from the salon, I barely recognized her. "What do you think?" she asked, touching her hair nervously. "I think you look beautiful. You look like yourself." She looked at herself in the car mirror. "Victoria hated it when I wore my hair short. She said James preferred women with long hair, so I never cut it." "And how do you feel now?" "I feel free." During those months, James tried contacting her several times. Calls, messages, flowers sent to the flat. Emma didn't respond to anything. "Aren't you curious?" I asked once. "Don't you want to know what he has to say?" "No, because I know exactly what he'll say. That he misses me, that he made a mistake, that he wants another chance." But the truth is, he had thousands of chances. Every day for 10 years was a chance to treat me well, and he chose not to. What if he really has changed? That's not my problem anymore. Let him change for the next woman. I've already done my time. Her firmness filled me with pride. One Sunday afternoon, 3 months after leaving the house, we were having tea on the balcony when Emma said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." Her tone put me on alert. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about everything that happened, about how I reached that point, and I realized something." "What?" "That I also had responsibility, not for what they did, that was their fault, but for staying so long, for accepting the mistreatment, for not defending myself." "Emma, no." "Let me finish. For years, I blamed James, Victoria, the circumstances, and yes, they were cruel, but I allowed them to be. Every time I stayed silent when I should have spoken, every time I accepted humiliation, every time I chose peace over my dignity, those were my decisions. You were in a difficult situation. They manipulated you. I know, but I also know there were moments when I could have left. I could have called you. I could have asked for help, and I didn't because I was afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of admitting I was wrong. Afraid people would say I couldn't maintain my marriage. That doesn't make you responsible for the abuse. No, but it makes me responsible for my own life. And that's the most important lesson I learned from all this. that nobody can save me except myself. You were able to get me out of that house, Mom, and I will be eternally grateful. But rebuilding myself, that I can only do alone." I looked at her with wonder. In those 3 months, my daughter had grown more than in 10 years. "You're right," I said. "And I'm proud of you. Proud that you can see that. There's something else I want to do." "What?" "I want to go to therapy. I need to understand why I accepted all that. What was in me that made me believe I deserved to be treated that way? Because if I don't understand it, if I don't heal it, I'll repeat the same pattern with someone else." That sounds like an excellent idea. She started therapy the following week, going twice weekly. She didn't tell me everything she discussed with her therapist, but I saw the changes. The way she stood straighter, how she held my gaze, how she said no without apologizing. 3 years after the separation, something happened neither of us expected. Emma met someone. His name was Daniel. He was a photographer, calm, kind, with a genuine smile and eyes that truly saw her. The first time she brought him for dinner, I observed every gesture, every word, searching for red flags, looking for any similarity to James, but there were none. Daniel asked her opinion on everything. He listened when she spoke. He treated her as an equal, not an accessory. When she mentioned her previous marriage, he didn't judge. We all have a past. What matters is that we learn from it. After he left, Emma asked, "What do you think?" "I think he seems like a good man. But most importantly, what do you think?" "I'm scared, Mom. Scared of making the same mistake. Scared of confusing kindness with love. Scared of losing myself again." "Those fears are normal. But there's a big difference between now and before." "What is it?" "Now you know yourself. You know your worth. You know what you deserve. And if something isn't right, you'll recognize it and leave before it's too late." "Do you think so?" "I know so. Because you've already done it once, and it was much harder then." Emma and Daniel continued seeing each other slowly, without rushing, building something genuine on solid foundations. 5 years after everything, I was walking through Shoreditch when I saw an obituary in a newspaper someone had left on a bench. Victoria Hayes, widow of Hayes, had died of a heart attack. She was 66 years old. The funeral would be private, for close family only. I told Emma that night. "Do you want to go?" I asked. She thought about it for a long time. "No. I have nothing to say there. Nothing to say goodbye to. She stopped existing for me years ago." "Are you certain?" "Completely. But I will do something." "What?" "I'm going to light a candle, not for her, but for the woman she could have been, if she hadn't lived her entire life from fear and appearances." That night, Emma lit a candle on our balcony. She didn't pray. She just stood there in silence, watching the flame. "Do you know what the saddest thing is?" she said after a while. "Victoria wasn't truly evil. She was just frightened. Frightened of losing her social position. Frightened of being nobody without her money. And that fear made her cruel. That's a very wise way to see it. My therapist says understanding isn't the same as forgiving. That I can understand why someone hurt me without having to forgive them. And I think she's right. I understand Victoria, but I don't forgive her. And that's okay. Yes, that's okay." The candle slowly burned down. When it went out, Emma closed the window and came back inside. "That's it," she said. "That chapter is closed." 6 months after Victoria's death, I received a message from Thomas. "Mrs. Foster, I thought you'd want to know. James Hayes is in hospital. He attempted suicide." I felt a blow to my chest. "Is he alive?" "Yes, they found him in time. He's under psychiatric observation." That night when Emma came home, I told her. Her reaction surprised me. She didn't cry. She didn't get upset. She just nodded slowly. "It makes sense," she said. James always based his worth on external things, his name, his money, his appearance. When he lost all that, he lost his identity, and he had nothing inside to sustain himself. Do you want to visit him? No. Are you certain? Yes, because if I go, he'll think he still has power over me, that I still care enough to rush to his side, and that's not true. I'm sad he's suffering. I'm sad he reached that point. But his healing isn't my responsibility. Mine is, and I've worked too hard on it to risk it now. I sent anonymous flowers to the hospital with a card reading, "May you find the peace you seek." I don't know if James received them or understood who they were from, but it didn't matter. I didn't do it for him. I did it for me. To close that circle with a gesture of humanity, not vengeance. Months later, Thomas informed me James had been discharged, was attending mandatory therapy, had joined a support group for men with depression. They say he's genuinely trying to change. For the first time, he's taking responsibility for his actions. I'm glad for him, truly. And I meant it. Because the best punishment isn't eternal suffering. It's for the person to finally understand the damage they caused and have to live with that knowledge. That's real justice. Life continued. Emma and Daniel got engaged. The wedding was small, intimate, in a garden full of jasmine like we had at our Manchester flat when she was little. When I saw her walk down the aisle in that simple but beautiful dress she designed herself, with that genuine smile lighting her face, I knew we'd reached the end of the dark road. My daughter had returned. Not the Emma from before. Someone better. Someone stronger. Someone who'd been through fire and emerged forged instead of burned. 5 years have passed since that day I walked into that house and saw my daughter on her knees. 5 years that feel like a lifetime. I'm sitting now on our balcony, the same one where Emma lit that candle for Victoria. I have a cup of tea in my hands. Hot tea, the way I've always liked it. The aroma takes me back to our Manchester flat, to mornings with Emma when she was little. Emma is now 35. Her design studio grew. She has 4 employees, clients nationwide, even some international ones. Last month, she won a design award for a campaign about domestic violence. When she went on stage to accept it, she told her story. She didn't name names or point fingers. She simply told her story of a woman who lost herself in a toxic marriage and took years to find herself again. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, it will have all been worth it. She said before hundreds of people. I was in the audience, crying tears of pride. My girl was no longer my girl. She was a woman. Complete, independent, strong. Daniel turned out to be everything James never was. Patient, respectful, a true partner. They have a daughter now. Her name is Rose, after my mother. She's 2 years old and she's the light of our lives. When I see her running through the park with that auburn hair she inherited from Emma, with that laughter filling the whole space, I think about cycles, how stories repeat themselves, but also how we can break those cycles if we're willing to do the work. I've learned so much these years, lessons I wish I'd known when I was younger. I learned that love isn't sacrifice. Love is balance. It's giving without emptying yourself. It's supporting without disappearing. I learned that money doesn't define people, but how they use it reveals who they are. I learned that justice doesn't always arrive immediately. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's simply watching as natural consequences finally catch up. I learned that forgiveness isn't mandatory, that it's okay not to forgive those who hurt us, that we can heal without forgiving them, that we can move forward without giving that gift to those who don't deserve it. That, I think, is the best revenge. Not the other person's suffering, but your own happiness, so complete, so real, that it makes everything that happened seem like just a bad dream from which you finally woke. If there's anything I'd like this story to teach, it's this. If you're in a situation destroying you, you can get out. It may seem impossible. You may think you lack resources, support, or strength, but you do. It's there, buried under years of doubts and fears, but it's there. And if you know someone's suffering, don't look away. Don't think it's not your problem. Sometimes all someone needs is for one person to see, for one person to act. My name is Margaret Foster. I'm 61 years old, and this is the story I never thought I'd have to tell. But if it helps a single woman open her eyes, if it gives a single mother courage to act, if it shows a single person there's always a way out, always hope, then it was worth telling. Because in the end, we don't take money with us. We don't take houses with us. We don't take titles or appearances. We take the love we gave, the lives we touched, the people we saved. And I saved my daughter. And she, in her own way, saved me. Thank you for reading until the end. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change someone's entire day. It can give them the strength they need to take that first step. And remember, it's never too late to start over. What did you take away from the story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words might help someone else who needs to hear them today.